Greetings everyone and welcome to another Orb Composer tutorial brought to you by Hexachords. And in this video we're going to be going over the trailer track, which you can listen to right up there. And we're going to be talking about how I added some of the other elements that you don't see currently on the screen. But you will see in the playthrough. So what we're going to do first is listen to the track raw without any of the post-editing that I did, post-processing and mixing and all that. And then we're going to talk about how I went about adding in some effects and some drums and things like that into the software using the new MIDI editor and things like that. So let's begin. Now that you've heard that, I'm going to show you how to do some of the things that I did in that video. I'm going to go over a couple of the things that I did in Studio One first. I'm going to just show you that this was from Orb Composer. All this decimator, drums, the whooshes, the hits, all of that was added in as effects into Studio One. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to take one of these clips here and recreate it using Orb Composer. So the drum pattern here that I had created in Orb Composer was pretty simple. It's this right here. So the drums takes place right over here in this block right here, and the theme variation block where the horns come in and bassoons, bass trombones, tubas, and all that. And all you have to do is go over here to the keyboard, to the keyboard icon, and then you can click on Drum Kit and drag in any of them. It doesn't matter which one because they're both the same pretty much for our purposes. But I picked the electro one. And we're going to go ahead and generate a drum track. So we're going to show the parameters, and we're just going to remove the pattern that's there. And we're going to create our own pattern from scratch. And so the pattern that we had created was bass drum twice, and then stop, and then hit again. Boom, 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 snare drum, boom, and then boom, 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 boom. Boom. And then it was no, it's here. Boom, reverse that. Yeah, like that. I think that's what it was. So let's take a listen to that. So that is the correct pattern except for one thing. So we're not going to be able to do that with the sequencer because the sequencer can only handle one at a time, but that's okay because all we have to do is change this a little bit. Boom, 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 chin, boom, boom, chin, 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 chin. Right? That's what it was. And I'm going to do it like that, and I'll show you why I'm doing it this way. So now, oops. So we're just adding in those notes. So it's just 4/16 notes at the end there. So now the pattern that we have is so the reason I put this there, even though it's not making a sound, is because I already know that it's going to make the correct sound on Decimator. So what I'm going to do now is disable the Orbs plugin and simply move these to the correct notes that I want them to be on, which I believe in this case is C3. I could be mistaken about that. And I want these to be really big drums. So now I've moved them to the correct spot, which is C3 or C2. There's actually two places where it plays. And we're going to max it out for most part right here, because we're just going to like a little bit of variation, but for the most part stay pretty maxed out. Now let's listen to that again. So that's not quite in the right place. This needs to be, oops, sorry, this needs to be up by a couple of, that's what we want. That's the sound I'm looking for. This is the sound you're looking for. And now we're going to play it again. We could change it to that. I think that's what I actually had originally, was that sound there. So that is just a really easy way to create this. Now the rest of the track was actually created all in Orb Composer. All of the melody and everything was done through Orb Composer. And the full track is available on our website, on our demos page, and you can also see it on our SoundCloud, link in the description. So let's talk about the piece itself now. Since I showed you how to kind of make a drum pattern and add that in there manually. So let's talk about now the actual piece that was created. So the inspiration for this was really quite simple. I listened to a couple of different trailer tracks I liked, and I picked a chord progression that I liked. And in this case, I actually picked one of the chord progressions from that video that you can see there, the 10-minute video challenge, where I go over several chord progressions that work really well in media music like this. And so this particular chord progression is D minor, F major, A minor, G minor, and it just repeats over and over again for about a minute. And if we just start, you can listen to it and you can hear how the music, without any effects, I'll take out the drums as well, how it all plays together. Before we listen to this, I want you to know that I didn't edit any of the MIDI. I didn't change any of the notes. All of it was created strictly by Orb Composer. So what you're going to hear here is all of the musical notes created by Orb Composer, be it by creating motifs, creating melodies. There's two melodies here that kind of contrast with each other. It's actually quite nice. And then we have our double bass here and our piano starting off. So trailer music likes to start off light, sometimes with a piano, sometimes with something piano-like, or perhaps some vocals. In this case, I went with a piano because it was simple and made sense for the scenery that we had, which was very science-y, and pianos kind of work well for that sci-fi sound. So let's take a listen to the whole piece without any of the effects added to kind of drown out the notes. And that is how the track was put together. It was very simply one block of 8, another block of 8, then a block of 4, and finally ending with a block of 4 as well. So really a block of 8 you can think of this as, but I wanted to separate it out as a melodic ending. Even though I could have just made it a block of 8 and shut everything off before it got there, but I wanted the melody to stand alone with a standard block like this. And I think Orb Composer came up with a really great melody there for the horns that kind of just stood out. You'll notice though that in the middle part, there's no melody at all. It's just motifs and kind of bouncing around. It's really it's more of a vibe than an actual piece. There's nothing there for you to kind of take with you until you get to that moment here with the horns. So prior to that, there's no melody, except for what's happening right at the opening with the piano. Right? And then that kind of is shown here. So let me solo the piano, and then I'll go back to the horns, and you can see how they kind of pair up with each other. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing in there with the melody. And that's pretty much all there is to this piece. There's really not a whole lot to talk about, but if you have any questions about any of this, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer your questions there. So I'm just going to show you the final mix and how it was mixed together. As you can see here, we have quite a lot of tracks here. So as you can see, there's other things here that you didn't actually see in Orb Composer, but I did add those things in the original. If you saw the video at the beginning, there was a drum pattern that's being shared by the taikos and the surdos. They're playing the same pattern on the same hits. And then we also have some hits. These are an effects plugin. And we also have the modern whooshes in here. And then we have the risers, which were added later on because I was unhappy with some of the risers I had picked at the beginning, so I ended up changing them at the last minute. But everything here is exactly what Orb Composer created. I just added some effects. Now, you see a lot of OTT. Now, OTT is a free plugin. It's really great for bringing out the important parts of a particular instrument. Now, it's also really easy to overdo it with OTT. I'll show you what I mean. Even though this isn't a tutorial about OTT, I will just show you really quick. I will leave a link in the description to OTT since it's a free plugin. Anybody can download it and use it. It's absolutely great for mastering your tracks in a really quick way. So I'm going to remove this really quick, the one that's edited, and then add in the one that's defaulted. And we're just going to pin that there. And if we just listen to the violin's one spiccatos, you will hear just how crazy it sounds off the bat. So we want to bring up certain things about that. So we want to bring up the highs, push down the lows, because the violins don't really have any lows. We're going to push upward a little bit, pull the depth down, push the time up. Bring the time down a little bit. Let's bring a little bit of that mid out, and for sure the highs. And you can really hear how that cuts through with the rest of the track. If we take out all the effects and percussion and we just listen to the track itself now, what we'll do now is we'll just listen to the track without any of the effects plugins or anything, just the track musical notes that were done with Orb Composer and the changes I made to it, and the OTT and all that wonderful stuff that was added in later on into the track to make it really stand out. And that sort of hissy sound that you hear is the OTT, and you can actually take that out and scrub it. But I didn't need to. I actually liked the way it sounded with everything together. So with everything together, the OTT kind of gets drowned out anyway, so you don't have to worry about all that kind of scrubby noise and stuff at the end there. These whooshes were added in because they were actually copied and pasted from the opening of the Hexachords logo that I had used before. So they weren't added into the Orb Composer track. They were added in post because they came already pre-packaged, and I just copied and pasted it over from the little intro that I do for Orb Composer videos. And then also the cymbals as well. So So these whooshes are accentuating the title cards. I'm going to talk you through it. So what we have is the opening. Simple enough, right? And all I did there was take out all the low-end stuff that I did for the actual intro of the Orb Composer logo. And then we have whooshes here. These whooshes that you see here are going to be added in for the title cards. So they're accentuating those title card moments, and I put a ton of reverb on them. I use FabFilter reverb, and I just cranked it up to like 50 and 6-second delay because I really wanted it to just ring for a long time. So anyway, let's listen to the whole thing without any interruptions. So I really hope you found this tutorial rather helpful. Now I am using Studio One here, and other DAWs will function differently, of course. But if you have any questions at all about what I've done in this video or how I made this track at all, please leave it in the comments below or email benjamin.masonet@hexachords.com, and I'll be happy to answer your questions there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, give us a like. And if you want to get your copy of Orb Composer, click the Buy Now button on the screen. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.